Hello, hello, good evening. I almost started this thing off by saying morning. I'm so used to Hobby Evolution, 6:4 p.m. Central. The big announcement is coming. So what is up? Primetime live. I apologize. I initially said I was going to go live at 7 tonight. And then I ended up doing a grocery store run. If you saw my tweet, I was in the cereal aisle tweeting about Count Chocula and Frankenberries and Boo Berry. By the way, a lot of Chocula votes. I'm a Frankenberries guy. So I did get some cereal, but I get the Monster cereal. They have s'mores cereal, and maybe I went to the store hungry. I went to the store hungry tonight. That's why I was a little behind. I came home. I left to go grocery shopping because, in fact, I came home for lunch, and my wife's like, "Oh, we have turkey. We need to go grocery shopping." So I get the turkey out, and then I go get the bread. I get the bread, and it's got this huge thing of mold on it. I'm like, "Oh." And I told my wife right before she mentioned the turkey, I'm like, "I'm just gonna go through a drive-through. I'm gonna get some fast food. We don't have anything. I'm just gonna run to a drive-through." She's like, "Oh no, we have turkey." That's when the moldy bread thing. So I tossed the bread. I'm going to Chick-fil-A, a chicken sandwich. So came home tonight, walked the dog, fed the dog. My wife comes home. I'm like, I'm going to go to the grocery store. What do we need? Just text me. I'm like impatient. I'm not going to wait around to like go through the kitchen, which is bad because then I walk through the grocery store and just grab junk food. Literally, that's pretty much all I brought home. I needed something for dinner. I got a DiGiorno rising crust pizza. That's why it took me so long. That's why I was delayed again, because it takes longer to cook. So got some rising crust pizza. I got the s'mores cereal. I bought fudge for my wife, donut holes for breakfast, Pepsi, just all kinds of junk food. And nothing good. So what is up, Diego? What is up, Zach? Craig with the bargain box. Bo, thank you to John Craig for anointing me bargain box. Bo, I love the nickname. What's up, Brandon? Good evening to everyone. Brad is with us. Sounds like me when I go to the store. Yeah, it was just, I'm like, oh, this was a bad move. So I'm full of DiGiorno pizza. But yeah, I saw the s'mores cereal, and so I had to pick up the s'mores cereal. So what's this big announcement? So if you saw the banner, the YouTube thumbnail, there's a little clue on that thumbnail. And it is titled there toward the bottom of the thumbnail, resignation letter. So what is this big announcement? There's a whole lot of like side things that are going. But the last I was dotted this morning, I turned in my 2-week notice, my resignation to my full-time job. I am going to take the plunge, something that 2 years ago, even a year ago, that I would have told you, no, don't do it. I'm going to sell cards full-time. I'm taking the plunge, and it was something that 2 years ago I would have said, no, this is stupid. I would never, ever do that. It's a hobby. Over time, I've built the eBay store, and I've sold and sold. And of course, we had the boom that really benefited the card sales a year and a half ago. I've seen the dip. There is a sharp decline. My eBay sales, in fact, this week have been in the toilet, which I'm kind of happy. That sounds stupid, as I'm 2 weeks away from leaving my full-time employ with great benefits to start my own business selling baseball cards. It sounds ridiculous, but that's gonna push me even more. So 2 years ago, stupid, crazy, no way would I ever do that. A year ago, it'd be fun. Maybe it would be fun. And then 6 months ago, the wheels really started turning. Could I do this? And you read my my blog articles and all of that, and I track the sales, and I keep, you know, pretty good numbers, try to keep those costs down with my stamp guy, thanks to Carl. Without Carl, my stamp guy, I, it would be pretty difficult getting tips from you. In fact, and I will probably go live again tomorrow morning just to talk cards. I've got so much. I didn't script this out, so I'm just going to be going all over the place tonight. But where was I at? So the file exchange. So I've had so many tips from listeners to this video series, people from Twitter, in the hobby Twitter. There was a file exchange tip I was given just yesterday. Double A cards on Twitter, which is going to be huge for my next file exchange update. It's going to save me a bunch of time copying and pasting 40 links, a whole page of links, and you can just copy and paste into the spreadsheet. So I'll go over that more when I go live tomorrow morning about another shortcut using file exchange. So I've learned so much from everybody else. That's why I like to pay it forward, help people with the file exchange, with the postage and supply savings, because so many people have helped me. And that's, led me to where I'm at today, where I feel comfortable taking this plunge. Because, when I talked to my accountant last year, I said, next year is going to be bad because COVID's going to be, on the downhill. We're going to be, back to somewhat normalcy. And we are. I mean, we can go to games and we can go out to card shows and all that. And we're going to see a dip in card sales, which we have. But I was still able to continue to make sales at a far less clip and I mentioned these yesterday morning when I went live about my daily inventory turnover, which at the peak back in the first quarter, January, February, March, my inventory turnover was probably 2 to 2.3%, somewhere in that vicinity, 2.5% maybe. And now it's steady at 1%. So I'm looking at my inventory back here. How many cards can I realistically list that would potentially sell in my eBay store from what I currently have? And I have a lot, thousands and thousands, that with time I could get those listed, especially using file exchange. Shout out to Chris. He's my file exchange guy. He's the one who sends me the templates that I pass on to you. Another, so much help getting here to where I'm at. So I crunched the numbers. Okay, I can sell 1%, even if it dips to 0.7 or 0.8% of my daily turnover. Multiply that by 10,000, 20,000. I mean, I probably have 50 to 100,000 cards that could be listed on eBay. Will I get to that point with some of this? Probably not, because I will be trying to list some higher dollar items. And, I'll kind of talk about that. A lot of people say, well, you need to get your, try to get your transactional sale per transaction cost up, where I think when I was averaging back in first quarter, I peaked, and this is working full time, like 77 items per day. And my average was around like $2.10 per transaction, which is pretty low. But that's my bread and butter. So I want to stay in that lane for now because I have so much inventory. I don't want to, especially at this time or in the first year, try to dive into graded cards or speculating or doing all that. So I have mastered the bargain box, the bargain box bow. I've mastered the bargain box in trying to pull out those dollar cards and flip them for 10, finding some 25-cent cards. I've had success finding quarter cards and selling them for $20. So I'm going to stay in the lane, and for the interim, as I build this business, focus on those small dollar transactions, not corner the market, but do my best to be the guy for those small dollar sales, those 99-cent sales, which a lot of them have turned into $1.50 listings at this point. So that's kind of where I'm at. So uh, it's it's still kind of crazy to think about. I've had so much support from friends and family. The decision, like I said, it's probably 6 months in the making. Where 6 months ago it finally started to, and I probably dropped some hints throughout my video series on. I try to act like, and I mentioned it, I think fourth quarter last year, where I'm building this eBay store like it's my income, like it's my only income. And I think even then, before I really put some serious thought into it, it was in the back of my mind that yes, this is something that I would like to do. And a couple months ago, just throughout, several different things, I really don't like the industry I'm in. Which I'm in logistics. So being in logistics, I'm privy to a lot of the stuff that I read for my day job is used here in the hobby because of what they're dealing with at the ports and shipments, and one of our largest customers uh, is not the post office, but it's mail, and it's a third party through the post office. So I understand delays and what's going on just because of what I do, and I don't like what I do, and I haven't liked it for a long time, and it's just been something where it's like I've got great benefits. I'm just gonna suck it up and just go in, punch the clock, and I think the national really kind of sparked that fire, really stoked that fire. It was at the Golden Auctions dinner where I'm in the same room as I'm sitting next to Buster Schur and Damien, the soccer guy, and we're talking and just being in that room with Jeremy and Ivan from Watch the Breaks, and Ken Golden, being in that room, kind of like, okay, this is something that I really want to pursue, because it's my passion. I had a professor when I went back to school. He was, I think it was a business management class I was taking, and he said, "Follow your passion." And one of his lines was, "Follow your passion, and if it doesn't make a lot, if it doesn't, or follow your passion, the money will come." And that's kind of something that's a sentiment that a lot of people will say, just keep after it, the money will come. So hopefully that's something that will happen. Putting a lot of work into this, and I don't have a plan B. I thought about that. Like, what if this is? I ran a SWOT analysis. What are the strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the opportunities doing this? What are the threats? And some of the threats could take me down. I mean, there's a number. I'm going to be mainly focused on eBay, and there's a number of threats that can take me out, that are beyond my control, whether it be the postal service or eBay. Um, you know, serious threats that could shut me down. Um, but I don't have a plan B, and I thought about this because I remember back in 2012 or 2013, the Chicago Cubs were in a rebuild, and Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer were they had the plan series and be competitive, sustained success, and they said they didn't have a plan B. And a lot of people, and myself included, thought that's crazy. What if plan A doesn't work? And I think that's something that, it stuck with me, and I didn't really think about it until I did this, and I finally took the leap, and it's like I don't have a plan B because plan A is going to work. Plan A is going to work, and if I have plan B as a safety net, how much effort? What if I take a day off? There is no days off when you're self-employed. Um, so there is no plan B, because this isn't going to fail, and I'm going to have a lot of success. So that's the mindset that I have to have, and I think anybody that's running their own business has to have that mindset. We had this conversation, no 0 days. Yeah, I love it. No 0 days, like Brad says. So I made this decision just a few weeks ago. I had enough. Um, and it's like, it's now or never. I was crunching the numbers. I looked at my salary, my bonus and commission, what the insurance, my company covers 100% of my insurance. Um, and I looked at those numbers, and I think, within the next year, it's going to be tough to make up that on top of what I could make. It's going to be hard to in the first year to make more than what I was doing at work with the full coverage insurance, and then making the money that I was doing selling cards on the side. So it's going to be difficult in that first year, but once I start to scale up, then you know, kind of climbing the wall. So I ran those numbers before I even discussed this with my wife. I wanted to have the business plan, the numbers. This is going to work. This can work because my wife's in real estate. She's also self-employed. So we don't have an insurance coverage through her. And by me doing this, we have to find private health care. So that's a big, that's a big hurdle to jump over. So I had to have a solid business plan before I even wanted to sit down at the kitchen table and have this discussion with my wife. And ran all the numbers. I ran different scenarios. Okay, here's where I think I'm going to be rest of this year. Here's where I think I can be after year one. But then in year two and year three, once things are really humming, I think I'm going to be here, and it's just going to be boom, blowing out the water of my current situation. And so my wife looked it over, loved it. She knows how much I disliked going into the office, working the job that I worked. Obviously, she knows my passion for sports cards, the hobby, and let's do it. And so we set up a meeting with our accountant and ran the numbers and got the advice. Okay, here's what we need to do. The 1 Million Cubs LLC was formed about 2 weeks ago, so that was the first step. I've got my resale sales tax license certificate, all that stuff. Got approved as a wholesale through BCW Supplies. So all those T's were crossed, and it was just turning in the letter of resignation. Did that this morning after I had that discussion with my wife a few weeks ago. It kind of dawned on me. We started talking about, my wife has a big birthday, a milestone birthday coming up in like exactly 2 weeks, October 13th. That's her big milestone birthday, and I'm like 9 months behind her. And I'm like, how do you feel about this big milestone birthday? And she's like, you know what? It doesn't really bother me. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, yeah, I haven't had that milestone birthday, but I had 30. and now you know how old my wife's going to be in 2 weeks. When I was 30, 30 didn't bother me because it was 29 that changed the course of life as I know it. When I was 29, that's when I did the 150 basketball broadcasts in one season in like 16 weeks. Talked about that with John Newman on Sports Card Nation podcast a few weeks ago. 150 broadcasts from the end of mid-November into mid-March. And from there, we went right into, I was working at a radio station. I was doing a website part-time, not part-time, but a website on the side. I was broadcasting, writing stories, creating content for high school athletics in Illinois. And so once basketball ended, we went right into the spring season, baseball, softball. And I was broadcasting the state softball finals for the high school association. So I was kind of focused on softball. And I travel all over watching the top teams because not only did it provide content for my website, but also I could use it for a sports show that I ran on one of our sports talk stations. So I could use it for the radio station. And then it also prepared me for the broadcast because I could see the top teams during the regular season. So I knew a little bit about the teams that I was going to be broadcasting if they reached the state finals. So it was just kind of this nice little synergy going. So season ends, broadcast softball, and I took like the Monday off. So the state softball finals are Friday, Saturday. So the last weekend of the state finals, take the Monday off. And I never took days off because I worked in radio. I didn't have any money, and I had all these vacation days. So I took the day off just to. I mean, it was a long year from August, starting with football, 150 games, where it was like literally every night broadcasting a basketball game, and then into the spring season doing softball, which I got a little bit of rest because of spring in Illinois, a lot of rainouts. So didn't really have as much full bore. So I took that Monday off. And I went down to the basketball courts at the university at Western Illinois. And I was just shooting around. And all of a sudden, it just kind of dawned on me because I just turned 29. And now I look back and it's like, oh, you young pup, only to be 29 again. I just turned 29. And it hit me. I had been so busy for the previous 9 months that I didn't think about it. And I was working in radio, had no money, had girlfriends here and there, but I worked so much I didn't have time or money for a girlfriend. And I thought about it as I shot hoops on that June afternoon. I'm thinking, do I want to do this the rest of my life, and can I physically do this? Can I be on the road traveling all over small town Illinois for the next 40 years? There's going to be a point in time where I'm probably going to want to do something. I'm not going to want to be on the road. I don't want to be alone the rest of my life. So all of this it just kind of brewed. It went to a boiling point where it's like, I've got to make a change. Like I didn't have a 4-year degree at the time. I had my associate's degree, and then I decided to just go. I had a full-time job in radio. It's like, this is what I want to do. I'm not going to go to school. I'm already in full-time. So it's like, even if I want to stay in broadcasting, I'm going to have to have some education. I'm going to have a degree. Oh crap, what am I going to do? And it was almost like a feeling of dread and, a lot of anxiety because literally a fear of the future. Like, I don't want to be stuck. So I took a few days. This was a Monday. I took a few days, and then all of a sudden I was going to get back on the road. And summer, in the previous years, I had covered summer league like stuff that no other, radio station especially, but newspapers would pop in every once in a while. I mean, I was watching summer league basketball games. I was covering Legion baseball and fast pitch ASA softball. And I was just, going to all these games and traveling around. And so that was on Monday. And then on Friday, I was going to cover a basketball shootout nearby Macomb. And I was driving from the radio station to the basketball tournament. And usually that's when I'm like pumped because I'm getting out of the office and I'm doing what I love. But I had all of these thoughts, like the future, like what am I going to do, rolling around in my head as I drive about a 30-minute drive. And all of a sudden it just kind of hit me. I can't do this anymore. I've got to make a change. And I still lived in Macomb where there was a 4-year university. And I'm like, I'm going to go back to school. And at the time I didn't have a backup plan. And in fact, this was in June. This was in early to mid June. And I had worked at the radio station for, let's see, this was 2000, what, 10 or 11? So 8 years I'd been with this radio company. And a lot of times when you put in a notice, like you're done. But I rolled the dice. And I talked to my general manager that following Monday, and I said, "Hey, I think I'm going to quit in August and go back to school full time." And my general manager was a woman named Vanessa, and she let me stay on for the rest of the summer. And I applied to go to school full time. Now here I am at 29 years old, no money because I worked in radio. You know, my parents didn't have much money. How in the hell am I going to do this? So it's like I have to make it work, right? Kind of like what I'm going to do, starting my own business. There's no backup plan. I'm going to make this work because it can't not work, right? It can't not work. So I applied, and I'm going to make this work. And all of a sudden, things just started falling into place. To drop was a friend of mine, and it's all the people people are great. Network. One of my former coworkers gives me a call. I tell him, I'm like, "Hey, I'm quitting radio. I'm going back to school full time. Think I'm crazy." And he goes, "Hey, the director of the sports network there left. They have an opening." So, having worked in radio in the city for 8 years, I lined up a meeting with the athletic director, and I'm like, "Hey, so this is what's going on. This is what's up. I'm going back to school, and I'm quitting radio. I don't have anything lined up work wise. I've got to make something work." So went in, did the interview, hired me, but it wasn't. It basically was free school, which, as we all know, is not cheap. So it was basically a scholarship, full ride scholarship for broadcasting. That's cool. And then a small stipend, but I can't pay the bills with the stipend. So all of a sudden, one of the sports writers quit the local newspaper. I call up, and I'm like, "Hey, I need a job." And fortunately, I had relationships built there with my, working next to newspaper people, basically hired on the spot, and things just fell right into place. And that's how when I went to school, that's how I landed here, because one of my professors, one of my sales professors, is basically a headhunter and consultant for the company that I'm employed for the next 2 weeks with, and got the job here. So it can't not work. So that's the mindset that I'm going to bring to the table. So so my last day, I put in my 2 week, and left it up to my bosses. If you want me to walk out the door now, clean break, that's okay. If you want me to stick around for the 2 weeks, my last day, Thursday the 14th. So they're like, "Yeah, stick around for 2 weeks." So that's where I'm at. So the last 3-4 weeks, it's been a lot of T crossing, I dotting. So like I said, how's that going to affect you, the viewer? Hobby evolution, where it's not a hobby anymore. It's a full-blown, it's been a full-blown business for a while. But it's not going to affect my collecting Cubs. Now, it is going to affect my buying of Cubs cards. I can't just go to a card show and plop down a few $100 for a tobacco card anymore, because I've got to really watch the spend. So that's going to be one of the hard things. Like, "Oh, I really want that T206 card." Nope, gotta pump the brakes there a little bit. So 1 Million Cubs project is not going anywhere. In fact, the name of my company, my LLC, is 1 Million Cubs LLC. So that's not going anywhere. Um, so 1 Million Cubs LLC. Um, I'll be selling my eBay store. The only change that you'll see in my eBay store is a heck of a lot more cards, because I'm gonna. That's I tried to hit the goal of 6,000 active listings by October 1st, and not gonna hit that. I think I'm at 38, just over 3,800. I have a file exchange update um, that I won't get to the next couple days, but it'll put another 200 cards, and then once I have a full day to devote, I can really get those file exchange updates rolling, and really try to pump up the eBay store. So that's kind of what you'll see on the eBay store front. You'll just see in the next couple of weeks, boom, 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 a lot more cards in the eBay store. I want to provide more content. Twitter is kind of my bread and butter, where I will continue to tweet. I want to pump up I've been working on my Instagram game, which is still has some work to do. But mainly I'm going to be focused on building the website 1millioncubs.com, providing more how-to articles, providing more content, and this is how I do things, and this is kind of some of those. So I do have somebody lined up to uh, redesign the website. So hopefully a redesign here in the next 6 months or so. So that's kind of in the works, because I just don't like the not really the functionality, but just the layout and the design of my current website. I want something where when there's a new story, and I want to provide content on a daily basis, that you can come check out, whether it be a mail day, whether it be a spotlight on a oddball Cubs card, or a review of a new release, or how to use file exchange, all that stuff. That I just want to put up more content. So that's what you'll get. What about the future of hobby evolution? I actually thought a lot about this. What am I going to do with hobby evolution? Because it's not really an evolution of the hobby anymore. It's now a business. Is it going to be business evolution? No, I'm just going to stick to hobby evolution, because there's still a part of the hobby for me. It's not, I still love it. Like it's hard to explain, but hobby evolution in name will not change. The content probably won't change much either. I'll have more. I won't be as kind of random times anymore. Well, it's not really random times; it's random days, where it may not be as. I know Zach loves the early shows, so it probably won't be maybe a couple days a week. I'll do some early shows. I'd like to stick to a consistent plan. And that's another thing. And kind of here I am all over the place. I think part of what led me to make this decision also was, I mean, COVID had a lot to do with it. Just, kind of the internal looking inside yourself. And I never thought that I could work from home. And once I started working from home during COVID, and I worked from home for about 15 months, and it's like, I could do this. So I'm going to stick to, so during COVID, we shuffled some things around in our home, because my wife we have a main floor office. That was my wife's office. So the first few months she worked from basically the kitchen island. And I worked from the office, the home office. And then she, made herself, got a new desk, and set up an office upstairs in a spare bedroom. So she's been working, even when I went back to the office in June, she's continued to work from her upstairs office. So just to kind of separate myself from the basement and not get distracted, because sometimes you can get distracted, and I can really sit down if I'm at a desk and sit down and do file exchange. I can really focus, especially if I'm in a room with no TV, no boxes of cards behind me. I can really focus. So my plan is to continue waking up, setting an alarm at the same time, um, and basically carrying on what I would normally do as I do now, but just going to my home office, just like I did for 15 months, working from home for the company I worked for. So, so that's just setting a routine. So I kind of think I'm going to do pretty much similar to what I did during those 15 months when I, started recording Hobby Evolution, where I'd wake up, get ready, get dressed, put on some coffee, come down, record my Hobby Evolution, and then go upstairs and get to work from my office. And I think that's how I'm going to carry out the day. Wake up, get ready, coffee, record Hobby Evolution, and then tackle the day from the office where I'm uploading file exchange, and then devote, a certain time window. I haven't put down a schedule, but I kind of want to write down a schedule, just so I can follow that, and say, okay, this time. So I'm going to go up to the office and do file exchange from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Because our post office doesn't even open until 10 a.m. anyway. So at 10 a.m. I'll start the shipping, and that'll go from 10 to noon. Break for lunch, maybe post office run, but I'll figure that out. You don't need to hear me talk out details. So yeah, that's the big news, the big announcement. Ken doesn't have to hear me tease it every day for the next 3 weeks. I was gonna tease him that I was gonna just strictly talk about Project 2020 and Flip Festers. So no more teasing the big announcement. So back to the chat. Thanks for all the well wishes in the chat. Rich, great to have you in here. Love the motto, stick with plan A. If you have problem, C plan A. Exactly. You're going to kill it. Thank you, Brad, for that. It's just been awesome. Everybody's been so helpful, so positive. That was a concern. And that was really a concern of mine was, what are other people going to think? I mean, really, I'm quitting my job to sell baseball cards. Like that's like, it does sound a little crazy to me. But everybody's been so positive and uplifting. So, I like that. You'll be successful, no doubt. Thank you, Zach. Failure is not an option. Absolutely. You're going to have to barter a lot. I may have to. But are you still coming out for spring training? Sounds like a business trip. So, Rich, right before COVID hit. So yeah, so at least a week, maybe 8-9 days. And yeah, I'll hit up Scottsdale Cards. There's a card shop in Scottsdale. It was on the Card Life TV show, Business Expense. A lot of that can be can be written off as business expenses. So absolutely. I am ready to hit spring training again. I had just an absolute blast at spring training last year. It was my first time. Met Rich, hung out with the Club 400 people, and the heckler crew were all out there at the same time. It was just it was awesome. You get out of the Midwestern winter, because it was the end of February, early March when I went. It's beautiful, warm weather. Baseball is back. I can't wait. Looking forward to it. So yes, absolutely. We'll be in Mesa in March. So can't wait for that. And that's another thing that I was like, so National 2022 in Atlantic City, I was not going to go. Like, even after the time I had a great time at the National this past, when was it, July, August. And I'm like, yeah, I had a great time, but I just don't want to fly out to Atlantic City. Well, now it's like I have to. So yes, I will be going to the National. I think I actually dropped that hint on a show a week or so ago. So I will be at the National next summer. Industry Summit in Vegas. I plan on attending that as well next year. So looking forward to hitting up some of those things and doing all this. I'm like super excited. There's days where I shouldn't even say days. There's like hours where I'm like super excited, like this is gonna be awesome. And then there's like I check my eBay and it's like, oh man, I haven't made a sale in like 6 hours, and it's like this is what my sales numbers are, and it's like, what am I doing? But it's just it's sales, and there's gonna be days where it's like a real big stinker, and then the next day may get better. Then boom, all of a sudden there's just somebody orders a whole bunch of cards, and it's all good. So um, that's just I've been in sales, and that's every salesperson. And I think you have to have fear. If you have your own business, if you're in sales, you have to have fear, because you don't want to get complacent, and complacency is the worst. So you have to have that fear that if I don't list X amount of cards, if I don't do this, if I don't create some content, um, I'm not gonna make any money, and this is gonna work. So you just can't have that mindset. So you gotta have a little fear. You gotta have a little fear in you, and push you as a motivator. So that's the big announcement. So thanks so much for all the support. I love it. I probably will go live again tomorrow morning, because I want to talk some more cards. Um, oh, and maybe a podcast. Maybe a Cubs podcast is coming. And Rich, you will love what may be in the works regarding a Cubs podcast. And this is all on me because I have the podcast creator who has this idea. He's just waiting on me to pull the trigger and get my stuff together. So he just texted me, and because I texted him earlier, I'm like, hey, I think I figured this anchor thing out. So let's do a test run. And so he's in. So he just texted me. It's actually something that I had considered right at the start of COVID. Did I talk about this? I think I talked about this yesterday morning, on the last episode of Hobby Evolution, where I bought this microphone because I wanted to do a podcast. And at the start of COVID, I wanted to do this Cubs podcast. And then it's like, I was doing trading card database. I had the podcast ideas. I just couldn't figure out how to, which is strange because I have a radio background, and I couldn't figure out how to like record a podcast. It's like, well, do I do Zoom? Do I do this? So I think I've got Anchor figured out. The podcast I was on this week for the Rockford Card Show, did it through Anchor. It was super easy. So I think we're going to go that route. And it's a Cubs podcast, and it's going to be, it's something right up my alley. And Rich, I think it's right up your alley as well. So, hopefully in the next week or two, we can get things figured out, because my buddy, he's got the connections, and I just need to bring it all together. I just need to meld it together. So yeah. So Scott just texted me, and that's where we're at. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the positives. I appreciate it. We'll talk tomorrow. Want to talk a little Bowman Chrome tomorrow morning. I know everybody's probably sick of listening to me talk about Bowman, but I love Bowman. Going to talk Heritage Miners, which I don't think I have anything to talk. Actually, I don't have anything Heritage Miners to talk about, because I did buy 2 cases. That releases in a month, end of October, for Heritage Miners. So locked those in. And I got my Cubs count is up to date. So just kind of do some random hobby talk tomorrow morning, 6:45. So again, thanks so much for all the support. Appreciate it. And we will talk tomorrow.